Okay, class, so I'd like to talk about some 3D graphics and techniques this week. One of the things you can do is this sort of treatment with type. Okay, you can kind of give a 3D feel to a 2D object, but the thing I'd really like to talk about are 3D object effects. Okay, the really important thing here is that you'd have a path. Okay, and that's what you have to start with. In this case, if you want to have a perfect sphere, let's say, you'd have to start with an exact half circle. Alright. If you were to extrude, you might want to do this sort of thing, whereby you want to make a shape like a straw, or a tube, or a pipe, or a churro, or whatever it is you want to extrude. Okay, and that's what extrude gives you. It takes a path and it kind of builds it out into a 3D shape with shading. Revolve takes that same path, okay, here, and spins it 360 degrees. Okay, and so that's how, for example, we would get our perfect sphere. Likewise, when you make a path, it's really important that you have the path correct when you do, let's say, a revolve. Okay, so here we have a brush stroke, and you may notice that the brush stroke is curved. Okay, and it has this little curved edge up here, and sure enough, when we do a revolve of the vase, we see that the lip of the vase has a nice smooth curve on it. Okay, you can, of course, rotate 3D objects. Okay, keep in mind, however, that when you do, things can go a little bit strange. Okay, you can throw off the perspective if you have two or more objects, and it's something to be careful of. You can set exact angle settings, and it's something that you kind of have to use with trial and error. Okay. Okay, so here, what I'd like to talk about are 3D lighting and effects. Okay, now 3D effects in Illustrator can be enhanced quite a bit by lighting, but you can see that the lighting is not all that exciting, and you can, of course, add multiple light sources. In this instance, we have a single point light source. Okay, and if these objects were black, for example, we would really not get very much reflection off of them at all. All right, you have to be very careful with the object that you start with. I'm sorry, the path that you start with, which results in the object that you want. It's really a trial and error process. This is a good example of mapping, whereby they took a half a circle shape, okay, and did a revolve so that it spun itself into kind of a candle shape. Okay, you can see this concave area in here. Okay, and that would be one of the sorts of things that you can do in Illustrator. And when you do it, you do have to be a little bit careful. Okay, I think that, for example, here you'd have to look up the formula for the circumference of a circle. Okay, this outer edge. Okay, and you would have to then make the graphic the same length. Okay, so ending up with this means you started with this correctly. If this, for example, was actually half the size, and by that I mean you get out the rulers and you measure. Okay, you would then be able to map only half of this. It might come halfway this way, or it might go only half of the way around. Okay. Also, what you're mapping in terms of objects matters when you're doing vector art. Here you see a kind of it's not exactly a perfectly round shape, and so we have something kind of like you may have seen with a map of the world, whereby it's cut into a certain shape so that it would map correctly to that ovalish type of ball. Okay. You can also map raster art. Okay, and this is a good example whereby they took this photo of a sunset and they mapped it onto this side of a cube. Okay, they specified which side, and then it maps it. They also mapped this starfish image and this image of palm trees.